So it's time for chapter 2 of The Shock of the Fall, and I know the last video was kind of long. By the way, if you click my face you can skip this whole intro thing and head straight to the start of the reading. I'm sorry, because I just wanted to explain that the last one was quite long because the first chapter is longer than the rest of the chapters I've already read, and I've read quite a few now, and I'm also using a Rizzler for a bookmark because I don't have one, and a hair grip to mark the chapter I've read with you guys. Anyway, I'll get on with the video so you guys can enjoy. And also, yet again, I will leave the link for the book on Amazon so you can buy it, ebook or whatever you want to buy, down below, because I think it's quite an interesting book. Anyway, I'll get on. It's only 9 pages, but yes. Chapter 2, Family Portraits. Next thing I knew, Mum was turning up the volume of the radio so I couldn't hear her crying. It was stupid. I could hear her. I was sitting right behind her in the car and she was crying really loudly. So was Dad, for that matter. He was crying and driving at the same time. I honestly didn't know if I was crying too, but I figured that I probably was. It seemed like I should be anyway, so I touched my cheeks, but it turned out they were dry. I wasn't crying at all. This is what it means when they talk about being numb, isn't it? I was too numb to cry. You sometimes hear people say that on TV. Like on daytime chat shows or whatever. I couldn't even feel anything, they explain. I was just completely numb, and the people in the audience nod sympathetically like they've all been there. They all know exactly how this feels. I reckon it was like that, but at the same time, I felt very guilty about it. I buried my head in my hands so that if Mum and Dad turned around, they would think I was crying with them. They didn't turn around. I never felt the reassuring squeeze of a hand on my leg. They never said it would be okay. Nobody whispered shh, shh. I knew then I was totally alone. It was a strange thing to find out that way. Here's another picture. On the radio, the DJ was introducing some new song in this really chipper voice, like it was the best song ever recorded and it made his life complete to be able to introduce it. But none of this makes any sense to me. I couldn't understand why the DJ was so happy when something so terrible had happened. That was my first proper thought. It was the thing that I remembered thinking as I sort of woke up, and this is the best way that I can describe it, even though I hadn't really been asleep. Memories were falling away, like a dream when we first opened our eyes. It was a lot like that. I could only make out the edges, nighttime, running, the police. The police were there somewhere. And Simon was dead. My brother was dead. I couldn't hold on to any of it though. I wouldn't get to hold it again for a very long time. I can't talk about it yet either. I have one chance to get this right. I need to be careful. To unfold everything neatly so that I know how to fold it away again if it all gets too much. And everyone knows the best way to fold something neatly is to follow the folds that are already there. My grandmother, Mum's mum, the one we call Nanny New, reads books by Danielle Steele and Catherine Cookson, and whenever she gets a new one, the first thing she does is flip straight to the back to read the last page. She always does that. I went to stay with her for a bit, just for a week or so. It was a very sad week, and probably the most lonely of my life. I don't think it's even possible to feel more lonely, even if you didn't have your granddad and your nanny New to keep you company. You've probably never met my granddad, but if you have, then you will know that he is a keen gardener. Only he doesn't have a garden. That's kind of funny if you think about it, but it isn't that funny because he rents a small allotment a short drive from their flat, where he's able to grow vegetables and a few herbs like rosemary and some others that I always forget. That week we spent ages there. Sometimes I would help with the weeding, or sometimes I would sit at the edge of his patch of allotment and play Donkey Kong on my Game Boy Color, so long as I kept the volume down. Mostly though, I would just wander about lifting stones to look at insects. I like ants the best. Simon and I always used to look for ants' nests in our garden. He thought they were brilliant and he pleaded with our mum to let him have an ant farm in his room. He usually got his way, but not that time. Grandad helped me lift the bigger paving slab so I could see the nests. The moment the slab was lifted, the ants would go mental, scurrying around passing secret messages to each other and carrying their tiny white and yellow eggs underground to safety. Within a couple minutes the surface would be completely deserted, except for maybe a few woodlouse wandering clumsily through to see what all the fuss was about. Occasionally I'd poke a twig down one of the holes, and in an instant a dozen soldier ants would be back out on the offensive, prepared to give their lives for the colony. Not that I ever hurt them. I only wanted to watch. After Grandad had finished weeding or pulling up vegetables or planting new ones, we'd carefully place back the slab and head home for tea. I don't remember us talking. I know we must have done, but what words we shared have escaped from my memory completely, like ants down a hole. Nanny New made nice food. She's one of those people who tries to feed you the moment you walk through the door and doesn't stop trying to feed you until the moment you leave. She might even make you a quick ham sandwich for the journey. It's a nice way to be. I think people who are generous with food have a goodness about them. But that week or so I stayed with them was very difficult because I had no appetite. I felt sick a lot of the time, and once or twice I was actually sick. This was difficult for Nanny New too, because if she couldn't solve a problem through the stomach, like with a bowl of soup or a roasted chicken or a slice of Battenberg, she felt out of her depth. One time I spied her standing in the kitchen, hunched over the untouched dishes and sobbing. Bedtimes were hardest. I was staying in the spare room, which never gets properly dark because there's a street lamp outside the window and the curtains are thin. I would lie awake each night for ages and ages, staring through the gloom, wishing that I could just go home and wondering if I ever would. "Can I sleep in here tonight, Nanny?" She didn't stir, so I walked in slowly and lifted the corner of her quilt. Nanny New is one of those electric blankets on account of her cold bones. It was a warm night though, so it wasn't plugged in, and the next thing I knew I was letting out a quiet yelp as a bare foot pressed down on the upturned plug. "Sweetheart, are you awake, Nanny?" "Shh, you'll wake up Grandad." She lifted the quilt and I climbed in beside her. "I stood on the plug," I said. "I hurt my foot a bit." I could feel the warmth of Nanny's breath against my ear. I could hear Grandad's rhythmic snoring. "I can't remember anything, I said at last. "I don't know what happened. I don't know what I did." At least I wanted to say that. It was all I could think about and I desperately wanted to say it. But that isn't the same thing. I could feel Nanny's breath against my ear. "You stood on the plug, my poor angel. You hurt your foot." When I went home it was just Mum and Dad and me. On our first evening together, the three of us sank onto the big green couch, which is how it always was because Simon preferred to sit cross-legged on the carpet, his face right up close to the television. That was sort of our family portrait. It's not the kind of thing you think you would miss. Maybe you don't even notice it at all. Those thousands of times sitting between your mum and dad on the big green couch with your big brother on the carpet, getting in the way of the telly. Maybe you don't even notice that. But you do notice when he isn't there anymore. You notice so many of the places where he isn't, and you hear so many of the things he doesn't say. I do. I hear them all the time. Mum switched on the television for the start of EastEnders. This was like a ritual. We even videoed it if we weren't going to be home. It was funny because Simon had a huge crush on Bianca. We used to tease him about it and tell him that Ricky would beat him up. It was only for fun. He used to laugh out loud, rolling around on the carpet. He had this sort of laugh people call infectious. Whenever he laughed, it made everything that bit better. I don't know if you watch EastEnders or even if you do. I don't suppose you remember an episode from so long ago. This one stayed with me. I remember sitting on the couch and watching as all the lies and deceit about Bianca sleeping with her mum's boyfriend and a whole load of other stuff finally came to its bitter conclusion. This was the episode when Bianca left Walford. We didn't speak for a long time after that. We didn't even move. Other programmes started and ended well into the night. This was our new family portrait, the three of us sitting side by side staring at the space where Simon used to be. "Please stop reading over my shoulder." She keeps reading over my shoulder. It's hard enough to concentrate in this place without people reading over your shoulder. I had to put that in big letters to drive the message home. It worked, but now I feel bad about it. It was a student social worker who was looking over my shoulder. The young one with the minty breath and big gold earrings. She's really nice. Anyway, now she skipped away down the corridor, acting bright and breezy. But I know that I've embarrassed her because people only skip like that and act all bright and breezy when they're embarrassed. We don't need to skip when we're not embarrassed. We can just walk. It's good to be able to use a computer though. I did a teaching session on it with the occupational therapist. His name's Steve, and I don't suppose I'll mention him again. He was satisfied I knew not to try to eat the keyboard or whatever it is they worry about. So he said it's okay for me to use it for my writing, except he still didn't give me the password, so I have to ask each time, and we only get 40 minutes. It's like that here. 40 minutes for this and 10 minutes for that. But I'm sorry about embarrassing that student social worker. I really am. I hate stuff like that. So that's my darlings. Where the hell did I just put that grip? Okay. So that was chapter 2 of The Shock of the Fall. If you enjoyed it, go ahead, leave a like, and you can buy the book down below in the description bar. I will leave a link to that. And yes, if you would like me to continue reading The Shock of the Fall, then go ahead and leave a thumbs up as well, and leave a comment on your opinion of the book so far. I will be uploading more videos and more chapters of The Shock of the Fall, and just you guys wait, because I've got a review of 2 things coming up soon, or if they're not already posted. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. I will see you soon. Goodbye, and don't forget to subscribe if you enjoy books and stuff like that, otherwise it's pointless you subscribing to this channel. Peace.